Imagine this scenario. You get a text, so it seems like it's from your boss, right? Asking you to urgently buy some gift cards for a client.
Right.
Or, an email lands in your inbox. It looks exactly like it's from your bank. Warning about some security breach, tells you, click this link, no W. What do you do?
Right. That moment of panic.
Exactly. That knot in your stomach, that rush, maybe that little flicker of doubt. Well, you've just bumped into social engineering.
Mm.
And today we're taking a deep dive into this really fascinating, sometimes kind of frightening world, because this isn't about complex code or software bugs.
No, not fundamentally.
It's about us. It's about the human element,
Ah.
often seen as the weakest link in the security chain.
Precisely. And it's not just the tech side. It's those visible strings they pull.
Yeah.
Persuasion, often without us even realizing it's happening.
So what's our mission today, then?
Well, our mission in this deep dive is really to help you understand how these bad actors manipulate people, using psychology, basically, to get access to private data to systems. We're going to unpack the methods they use, which are quite cunning. And really importantly, look at solid ways you can protect yourself and your organization, too.
So we'll look at some real-world examples that might surprise you, explore the psychology that makes these attacks work so well, and give you concrete things you can actually do to stay safe.
Yeah, that's the plan.
Okay, let's peel back the layers then. Let's unpack this. All right, so when we think cyber threats, our minds often jump straight to like hackers writing complex code, right? Finding software bugs.
That's the common image.
But the most vulnerable point often isn't a computer, is it? It's us. Can you break down what social engineering really is at its core?
Yeah, you've hit the nail on the head there. At its core, social engineering is psychological manipulation, pure and simple.
Okay.
It's someone tricking you, getting you to make a security mistake, maybe give away confidential info. And they do it by exploiting really basic human traits, things like trust, curiosity, even fear.
Right, things we all have.
Exactly. And what makes it so unique and frankly so dangerous is that unlike, a traditional cyber attack that goes after a software flaw,
Yeah.
social engineering just bypasses all that.
All the fancy tech.
All the expensive firewalls, the intrusion detection systems. It doesn't care. It targets you, the human user, who, like you said, is often the most unpredictable element in any security setup.
It sounds almost too simple in a way, but how do they actually do it? We've probably all seen phishing emails, those dodgy ones.
Oh, yeah.
But what other shapes does this take?
Well, phishing, those deceptive emails, that's the classic, definitely. But then you've got phishing.
Phishing.
Yeah, voice phishing. Over the phone, someone calling, pretending to be tech support or maybe your bank's fraud department. Very common.
Ah, okay.
Then there's baiting. That's where they lure you with a false promise. Could be a free music download that's actually malware, or even
like a USB stick left lying around.
Exactly. A USB stick labeled confidential or salaries, just left in the parking lot. Curiosity gets the better of someone. And another one, maybe less obvious, is tailgating.
Tailgating?
Yeah.
Like following too close?
In a physical sense, yes. Someone without authorization following an authorized person into a secure area. Maybe they're carrying a big box or pretend they forgot their badge. Simple politeness lets them in.
Wow. Okay. So is there a typical process they follow? Or is it just random?
No, it's usually quite structured. It often starts with reconnaissance, just gathering info.
Like what?
Oh, anything. Social media profiles, company websites, public records, news articles, building a picture of the target or organization. Then comes infiltration. This is where they build trust, often by impersonating someone legitimate, maybe a colleague, a vendor, someone in authority.
Setting the stage.
Precisely. And then comes the exploitation, using that trust to manipulate the target into doing something, clicking a link, giving up a password, transferring funds, whatever the goal is. And often, the victim has no idea they've just been had.
That sounds, the potential impact seems huge. But how often does this stuff lead to really big problems, like catastrophic damage? Or is it sometimes more subtle?
Oh, the impact can be absolutely massive. We're talking huge data breaches affecting millions, serious financial losses, companies facing, severe reputational damage.
Right.
But it's also the subtle stuff, that slow erosion of trust, making people second-guess every email or call. That's damaging too. A really stark example, though, of the big impact. The 2025 Qantas cyber attack.
Ah, yes, I remember reading about that. What happened there exactly, from a social engineering perspective?
Oh, the attackers used social engineering tactics to impersonate airline employees. Their target was an offshore IT call center, often a slightly less guarded point of entry.
Okay.
And the consequences were just staggering. Personal information, sensitive data from up to 6 million customers was stolen.
6 million. Wow.
Yeah. And what's fascinating, or maybe terrifying, is how a seemingly simple human interaction, probably a phone call, maybe an email that looked legit, managed to bypass what was millions of dollars spent on technical security.
It really drives home that point, doesn't it? The human factor.
Absolutely. A sophisticated firewall is, well, useless against a really convincing lie told to the right person at the right time.
That Qantas example just hammers it home. It's not just tech hacks, it's hacking our minds. So let's dig into that now, because this is where it gets really interesting, I think. What is it about our human psychology that these social engineers exploit so effectively? Why do we fall for it?
Well, the core idea is that social engineering preys on really fundamental human traits and our emotional triggers. It basically leverages how we think, how we feel, how we make decisions, but it uses it against us.
Right.
Which makes it incredibly effective.
Yeah.
Kind of know our operating system,
Yeah. And it makes you think about your own reactions sometimes, doesn't it? So how do these normal human tendencies become weapons for attackers? Let's maybe walk through a few.
Definitely. Let's take reciprocity. You know that feeling? Someone does you a small favor, you feel you owe them one back.
Sure, like holding a door.
Exactly. An attacker might offer some small gift, maybe some seemingly helpful info, or minor assistance, making you feel subtly obligated. Then they ask for something bigger.
Ah, clever.
Then there's commitment and consistency. Once we commit to something small, we want to stick with it, right?
Yeah.
To seem consistent. So an attacker might start with a tiny request, something that seems totally harmless. Then they escalate. Could you just confirm this?
Yeah.
Then could you just click that? You've already started down the path.
Okay, I see that. What else?
Social proof? This is huge. We're massively influenced by what others are doing, or what we think others are doing.
Like herd mentality.
Sort of, yeah. Social engineers might fake testimonials or create a sense that everyone is signing up for this thing or everyone follows this procedure. It makes you more likely to comply. And authority bias. We tend to obey people we perceive as authority figures.
Like the boss asking for gift cards.
Exactly. Or someone claiming to be from law enforcement or IT support or HR. They don't even have to be real, just seem authoritative. Using jargon, mentioning internal departments.
Yeah.
It can be enough to make us switch off our critical thinking.
It's amazing how quickly we defer.
It really is. They also exploit liking. Simple, right? We're more easily persuaded by people we like. So they work to build rapport, find common ground, seem friendly and trustworthy, even if it's totally fake.
Makes sense.
And finally, scarcity and urgency. Creating that feeling that you have to act now. This offer expires in 1 hour. Your account will be locked unless you click immediately. It pushes us to react impulsively.
Yeah, that pressure tactic. I can see how all those work.
They're powerful psychological levers.
So beyond those principles, what about raw emotions? What specific feelings do they target to cloud our judgment?
Oh, they are absolute masters of emotional manipulation. Fear is a big one.
Like the account-compromised email?
Precisely. That immediate jolt of fear overrides rational thought. You just want to fix it. Then there's greed. Promises of easy money, lottery wins, unbelievable investment returns.
If it sounds too good to be true.
It usually is.
Yeah.
But greed can be tempting. They also prey on our natural helpfulness, posing as someone in distress, needing urgent help, maybe locked out of an account, needing a small favor. People want to help.
Yeah.
And curiosity. That little itch. See who viewed your profile. You won't believe this video. That can lead you straight to malware. All of these really feed into creating urgency, making you feel you must act right now, without stopping to think, without verifying anything.
It really makes you stop and think, doesn't it? How often do these everyday feelings make us click something or respond too quickly online? What if we just paused?
That pause can make all the difference.
Okay, so we've just unpacked the why, the psychology behind it, the hooks they use. Now, let's pivot to the how. What are the common playbooks? How do they put those psychological principles into action?
Right. The tactics themselves. Well, they're varied, but they all tap into those principles we just talked about. Phishing is still king,
The classic email scam.
Yeah. You get an email, looks like it's from your bank, maybe PayPal, Amazon, says there's a problem, you need to log in and verify. The link goes to a fake site that looks identical. You enter your details, boom, credentials stolen.
And people still fall for those.
All the time. They're getting much more sophisticated. But then there's spear phishing.
Which is different how?
It's highly targeted. Way more personalized. They've done their reconnaissance, remember? So the email might mention your name, your job title, maybe a project you're working on. It looks incredibly legitimate.
Ah, okay. Much harder to spot.
Much harder. There was a big attack in 2022 targeting Office 365 users. The attackers impersonated the U.S. Department of Labor, sent out emails that looked completely authentic, tricked people into giving up their login credentials. Because it was specific, it felt real.
So it's not just a generic email. It's crafted just for you or your role. That's pretty unnerving.
It is. Another tactic is pretexting. This is where they create a whole fabricated scenario, a pretext, to gain your trust.
Like making up a story.
Exactly. A really elaborate one sometimes. They might call pretending to be from IT doing a security audit, or maybe a vendor checking invoice details, or even law enforcement investigating something. They use the info they gather to sound convincing.
To get you talking, giving up information piece by piece.
Precisely. Then there's baiting. Using a lure. We mentioned the USB stick example, that's physical baiting. But it happens digitally too, offering free software, free movie downloads, exclusive reports. But the download contains malware. They're baiting your desire for something free or exclusive.
Okay. And tailgating, we touched on the physical entry.
Yes, tailgating or piggybacking. Following someone into a secure building or room, it relies purely on politeness or people not wanting to cause a fuss. Surprisingly effective.
I can imagine.
And one more, quid pro quo. Basically, something for something.
Like a trade.
Yeah. The attacker offers a supposed service in exchange for information or access. The classic example is someone calling, pretending to be IT support, offering to fix a slow computer, if you just give them your login details so they can remote in.
Trading fake help for real access.
Exactly. A subtle exchange, but one where the attacker gains everything.
These tactics are, wow, they really play on everyday interactions and instincts. So for someone listening, how does this usually flow? Is there a typical sequence to an attack?
Yeah, while it can vary, there's often a recognizable pattern. It generally starts with that information gathering or reconnaissance phase, learning about the target.
Finding the weak spots, the angles.
Right. Then comes establishing trust. Building that rapport, creating that pretext, making the target feel comfortable or obligated.
Lowering their guard.
Exactly. Next is the exploitation. That's the core manipulation. Getting the target to click the link, reveal the password, approve the transfer, let them in the door.
The action the attacker wants.
Correct. And finally, execution. The attacker achieves their objective, stealing data, installing malware, gaining access, and often the target is completely unaware anything bad has happened. Not immediately, anyway.
Okay, that all sounds quite concerning. But the good news is we're not helpless here, right? Understanding the tactics, the psychology, that's a first step.
Absolutely. Awareness is huge.
So what can we actually do? What are the proactive measures, the shields we can put up both as individuals and maybe for organizations too?
The absolute cornerstone for everyone is education and awareness.
Knowing what to look for.
Yes. Regular training, simulations, making people aware of the latest tactics, teaching them to recognize suspicious emails, calls, requests, and crucially, how to report them safely. You can't defend against what you don't understand.
Makes sense. What else for companies?
Organizations really need clear, well-communicated security policies, guidelines on how to handle sensitive information, who can approve what, and importantly, how to verify requests, especially unusual ones.
Rules of the road.
Exactly. And then there are the technical controls, of course. They still matter. Robust email security filters can catch a lot of phishing attempts before they even reach an inbox.
Okay.
Endpoint security on laptops and phones can detect or block malware if someone does click a bad link. And web security tools can block access to known malicious websites. Technology helps.
All important layers. But what about something simple, almost universal, that gives a massive boost even if, say, someone does accidentally give away their password?
You're talking about multi-factor authentication, MFA.
Right. Explain that quickly.
It's basically adding a second step to logging in. So you enter your password, and then you need something else, usually a code sent to your phone, or from an authenticator app, maybe a fingerprint.
So password alone isn't enough.
Exactly. Even if an attacker tricks you into giving up your password through social engineering, they still can't get in without that second factor, which they hopefully don't have. It's probably the single most effective technical control against account compromise.
That seems like a no-brainer then. Everyone should use that wherever possible.
Absolutely. Huge impact for minimal effort. We also need to build a culture of verification.
Meaning
Encouraging people, empowering them even to double-check requests before acting, especially urgent or unusual ones. Get a weird email from the CEO asking for a wire transfer. Call their assistant to confirm. Someone calls claiming to be IT, needing your password. Hang up and call the official IT help desk number yourself.
Trust but verify.
That's the mantra. Never feel pressure to skip verification. It's also crucial to keep everything updated. Regular updates and patch management. Attackers often exploit known software flaws, so keeping systems patched closes those doors.
Basic hygiene, really.
It is. And for organizations, having an incident response plan worked out before something happens is vital. Knowing who to call, what steps to take, how to contain damage quickly. And finally, let's not forget physical security. Access controls, visitor logs, surveillance, preventing that tailgating we talked about.
Right, the physical aspect, too.
Yeah. When you put it all together, it's about building defense in depth, multiple layers. Technology helps, policies guide, but ultimately that aware, vigilant human is a critical part of the shield. Technology and people working together.
So we've really unpacked quite a bit today, haven't we? The whole world of social engineering. From the psychology that makes us vulnerable
Those core human traits.
to the sophisticated, sometimes surprisingly simple tactics attackers use. And I think you really get a sense now why just having a strong password, well, it's important, but it's nowhere near enough, is it?
Not even close.
Yeah.
The key takeaway, I think, is that by understanding how our own lines work, understanding human behavior,
Yeah.
and by putting these robust, layered prevention strategies in place.
Education, MFA, verification.
Exactly. All of that. We can significantly cut down the risk of falling victim to these really deceptive tactics. Your own vigilance, your awareness, those are incredibly powerful tools in this fight.
Absolutely. So here's something maybe for you, the listener, to chew on. What really stands out to you from all this?
Yeah. Maybe consider this. We live this incredibly connected world, right?
Yeah.
Information is everywhere. Interactions are mostly digital now. How does understanding these nuances, these subtleties of human psychology, how does that become maybe the ultimate cybersecurity tool?
Interesting question.
Yeah. How can we build a society that's not just, digitally literate knowing how to use the tech, but also psychologically resilient,
Yeah.
able to spot and resist manipulation?
That's definitely something to think about, how to build that resilience. Okay, well, until our next deep dive, stay safe out there, stay curious, and stay informed.